Welcome to this episode of Brohalla Mead Hall Edition. I am Will, your host for this evening, and I am joined by my fellow members of Brohalla here, where we focus on gaming, fun, and friends. Everybody, introduce yourself and say hello this evening.
All right. Hey, everybody. I'm Scott. Good to see you again.
Jason, welcome back.
I'm Matt. Glad to be here tonight.
Yeah. So again, you're joining us on a Sunday night here as we sit around and have ourselves a drink and do a little bit of chit-chatting. So we have our agenda tonight. We're going to talk about a little bit of hobby update, what we've been doing post-Adepticon. Then we'll get to the news, and then we'll cover up with a couple other events coming up here and some other things. So, shall we get into it, gentlemen?
Absolutely. Let's get into it.
So let's get on down to Hobbytown. So, who wants to go first? Who's working on something fun post-Adepticon?
Well, is it all fun? Is it always fun?
It is always fun.
It is always fun. I think we should call on Matt. Fun. I think he's been working.
Yeah, he was actually like.
Actually, I've been doing a lot. I've been trying to ride the Adepticon wave as much as possible before I lose it.
That's a good thing, you know. Like I think we always come back from Adepticon. I'm like, I need to do this, or I saw that and it's fun. So.
Well, and I know myself in the past years, I've kind of petered out pretty quickly after coming back, and so this year I decided we're going to ride it as long as we can and try to get some stuff done. I built a lot of terrain, MDF terrain from different companies.
Some of it was
mine. Some of it was for Jason. I've been building a bunch of models for Shatterpoint because I got some of that stuff at Adepticon. I have just a lot of stuff. Currently, I'm getting a few more models painted for Kennedy Con coming up next weekend that we'll talk about later. And so I've been really buckling down trying to make sure that I don't lose the focus from Adepticon.
That Adepticon push.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good. It's good to hear.
Yeah.
Mr. Scott, what have you been working on, good sir?
Great question. So, like several of us on here, I've been kind of binging through and watching Shogun quite a bit. I'm excited to for that to wrap up here. I think coming up in 2 days. Yeah, in 2 days here is when they'll have the final episode on that. But because of that, there's this strong desire for me to be doing a lot of Japanese hobbying. So thankfully, gosh, I can't remember how long ago it was. I started my Japanese secessionist army for Infinity, and I've been painting it in a noir style. So it's a black, white with a touch of red, splash of red here and there. But I've actually been planning out and working through the display board that I want to put with it.
I think you've been doing it for about 8 months.
That probably sounds about right. But yeah, I've been working with some Arsenal Sonomata terrain and just trying to game plan out where it is. I've ordered a whole bunch of different like rocks and different other things to put into it, along with some like water effects to put a nice stream down there and things like that. So I'm actually really excited to kind of keep riding that direction. And now I think finally at that point where I can actually start laying it out on the board, because I want to make it a 2x2, so 2 foot by 2 foot display board that'll be magnetized. So not only will it look good, but it'll also be safe, because I learned the hard way at Adepticon 2000, I think it was 2018, when I brought the G.I. Joe Army for the very first time. Unfortunately, that original display board, which had the the G.I. Joe blast background, behind all the models, was just on a piece of wood. So literally before game one, we're all moving around to take our spots at the tables. I pick up the display board and I start moving. Somebody else is moving, hits my arm, and the Joes hit the floor. So I learned very quickly. It was all good. I think there was a few like 2 bent barrels and 1 arm, but the arm broke at the glued joint anyway. So
so that was
really easy repair. It was definitely repairable. It was pretty darn easy. But I learned my lesson. So now everything, even for a display board, gets magnetized with me. So that's what's going to happen even with this JSA board.
Isn't it interesting? Like we go back like 5 years. I remember like the initial broken egg token movement tray board, and now we're all like no magnets. So just how that has changed. In
I magnetize everything.
What's funny is I still have the tournament tray board that you gave me, Will, when you stopped using it. That's the real like nice carved wood, and
that's the broken egg one.
I still use it. The only downside is it doesn't have 55 millimeter cutouts, but I love that tray.
There's an adapter for it. Let me see if I have.
No, it doesn't. I don't use them that often, and if I do, I just stick them over in the dice side. But it's worked so well for me that I've never justified buying a new one. So thank you.
You're welcome. I like to share the love if I have something I'm not using, I will hand it out.
In fact, again, it'll make an appearance at Kennedycon.
Well, there we go. All right. Well, Jason, that brings you up. What have you been working on?
I was all excited until real life hit. I have not been able to do a whole lot of stuff. We just opened Sweeney Todd at Kennedy last week, so pretty much when I got back from Adepticon, I had a week of hobbying and then chock full with that. So real life's got me, but I did get some stuff done today. I built a bunch of Shatterpoint stuff that I got on the last release. I worked on that, and then I really want to get bolt action going around here. It'll help once Matt moves here, I think, and there's more than just me and Will in town. And well, no, Will doesn't play 28 mil anyway.
Yeah, I'm weird like that.
So I actually opened up for the first time a bolt action Russian engineer squad and the Zis 3 gun, which I bought at last year's Adepticon, which I finally opened this year and got them glued to the bases and got the Zis 3 gun built. So yeah, that's how maybe I just roll a year behind. That's pretty much what I figured out. But that's pretty much what I've been doing. And then with my like limited free time I had the last couple weeks, I've been organizing some Star Wars Unlimited decks so I could get ready to play this week.
Nice.
But yeah, but hobbies. Go ahead.
I was going to say, for those who don't know, Kennedy is the school that Jason works at.
Yes.
So if you hear us saying Kennedy, it's not a president. It's not.
Yes, it is not a president. Well, it's named after a president.
Right, but it is the school that Jason works at.
It is the one I teach at and work at. But yeah, so that's pretty much what I've been doing. But we actually have tomorrow off. It's just a school break day, so I'm going to the store down in Geek City at 2:00, and I'm gonna play there until they close.
Nice.
That's my plan.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm gonna enjoy.
Will, how about you?
MCP and Shatterpoint and Unlimited and see what happens.
I'm similar to Matt. I have been on the terrain focus as of late. We've had our glimpse of what Warcrow is going to need for terrain wise, and I know I'm taking up the challenge of trying to provide as many boards as I can for Warcrow at Adepticon next year. Coming back to Adepticon a lot, but I mean, it's kind of the things that we do. So I've been trying to get a one board finished. So I printed a lot of hills. So a while back, I backed a Kickstarter called Jaeger Home by, I think it's Dark Fantasy Mills. It's an STL company who do physical prints. They had this kind of like Nordic northern thing, but they had these really cool hills, which is what sold me on it. So I printed up a bunch of those, got those actually all done, and then did a house. And I think it came out pretty well. If you've in the Warcrow community on Facebook, I posted it up there. And I just actually purchased something in the realm of like 50 trees to like they're if you really want to know, they're Limax. They're like a Christmas tree for like like the display stuff. But this one brand I found does really well. Is look at like I think they're 21 packs, so like 42 trees Some big ones. There's a lot of small ones, but that will go well into BattleTech. But I have some of them, and I going for this northern theme board, so I want to fill that out. And then
I was gonna say the house the house really does look good.
Yeah, that reminds me. I've been packing my hobby room for my move, and I actually did come across a building. I gotta send a picture to you that I think you can use on one of those tables. That
nice.
It doesn't match any of my other terrain, but it would work perfectly for you, Will.
Yeah, I think we're trying to do like 8 tables at least at Adepticon.
I'll get you a picture of it this probably tomorrow and send it over to you.
And then I started work on my Buckler Man that I got at Adepticon, and it had been a bit since I had painted anything in like that 30 mil, 28 mil scale. I've mainly been doing small scale stuff lately, so had to break out that muscle memory back because it's different when you're painting at that higher fidelity, unless you're one of the guys who can really do crazy stuff at like 6 mil scale, which they're out there. But I tried my hand at non-metal metallics for the first time, and I've been fairly pleased with the results. So it's not perfect, but I think I did a pretty decent job. So.
Yeah, it's looking really good, and I think you've got that out in both the Discord and did you put it on the Facebook page as well?
I don't think I put it into the Facebook page yet. I'll post it up when I'm done. I'm like 90% done. I still need to do the sword, and then the base, and then she'll be done.
Awesome.
Perfect. Try to do a different approach than the studio models. If you look at studio models, they definitely went with like a black into like blues for their armor, and I went with I wanted to go like if you look at the dossier, the artwork they have out, it almost has this like gray brown undertones to it. So I went to that approach. Did like gray browns, and then did like a sepia wash, which gave this really interesting like not the gold parts, but like the Under Armour, this really interesting like dark oil rubbed brass type of look, and it was interesting. Try to do something in the same vein, but not that same approach, and see how that came out. And I know Jim did his, and his is like blue, so like it's cool to see the variation that's popping out on these.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be really interesting to see like the differences and variances from this, like the studio paint scheme, especially with like the Bucklerman and
the tribes. I'm interested in how because there's so many different ways where you can do orc green.
That part's going to be definitely interesting. But for me, the biggest part is the fact that the hegemony of embers they're called the Black Legion because of the color of their armor. So it'll be very interesting to see the different takes that people make on their artistic choices, which is going to be awesome. I can't wait to actually see it.
Yeah, I think
cool.
I think they're going to be fun models. So I'm going to segue a little bit. This is still in the hobby section, and we haven't really announced yet, but we have all decided we are going to do a painting competition at Adepticon next year. We're all going to enter the same one. And
it's sad because like 10 years ago, I look at stuff that I painted 10 years ago, and I really liked it, and it was really good. Like to me, it was really good. I'm struggling, man. Now, like my stuff that I'm painting now isn't near to the quality that stuff was, and I'm really scared to submit anything for
I
that kind
submitted
of
a crap one 2 years ago,
so
and
good.
I
have
awful, but I
real
threw it
plan.
in there.
I have a real plan for if they announce a Shatterpoint competition for doing a really cool display. Scott knows about it. I've shown him pictures of my concept for it, and I really hope it happens because I am kind of excited to try to do it. So,
yeah, it sounds like everybody else has their stuff planned out. I haven't even beginning to thought.
I haven't planned it out either, but I probably will go the Star Wars route rather than the MCP route. Honestly,
but some of your MCP stuff looks really good. You do a good job on that.
That's if AMG does a Star Wars competition.
Yeah.
Right. Based on this past year, they did not, but that's 11 months away now.
Yeah. We'll see. I bet you they do, but who knows?
Well, and it's hard for me because otherwise I'm going to end up doing MCP. But all of my other MCP stuff, I have done strictly with contrast paints to give it almost a comic booky sort of look. It's not
Yeah,
great.
I mean,
Tabletop, it's fine. If I have to do one showpiece, then and it's gonna just look weird amongst the rest of my stuff. But well.
Then just do it as a showpiece.
Yeah,
Something
I
fun.
mean, yeah.
Do something you wouldn't normally do. But
Exactly.
yes, if anybody's picked up, we're going to try to do. Hopefully, they have a Star Wars centric one because I think that's where we're all leading. But
Or Shatterpoint, yeah.
Based upon the painting contests that are there, we all thought the AMG one was more up our alley.
Yep, definitely, and it's
I'm
an
not doing
opportunity
40K.
for it's an opportunity for all of us to kind of just push our boundaries and try new things that we wouldn't normally do.
Yep. So we can take our viewers on a fun journey.
Yeah, we'll get some updates.
It'll be a journey.
All right.
Descent into Madness, fine line.
Yeah, I think I'll be all out because if I don't start in Christmas, it won't get done. So
yeah, you got to get that planned and going.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
Well, since we've kind of been talking about Adepticon, should we move on to news?
Let's go do the news.
Goes to the news.
There has most definitely been some Adepticon.
There's a lot of news.
Lots and lots of news out there.
I'm going to let Scott take this one because he's kind of.
I think we're rolling. I think we're rolling some. We're gonna wait. I think we're hitting that after a couple other small ones.
Do we want to like big news first or go in small news?
So I think I'm just gonna go in the order of our little sheet here.
Okay.
But our first one, Bolt Action got announced that there's gonna be a 3rd edition coming out in September.
Yep.
I don't know that any of us is gonna have a really strong opinion about that because not a lot of us have played version 2 a lot. Enough or a deep dive. I can tell you through various Discords and Facebook groups that the community was kind of clamoring for a V3.
Yeah.
And I would definitely suggest anybody just go to the Warlord has a press release out with the creator his name is, I have his name here.
Wasn't it is it Alessio or something like that?
Yeah, Alessio Cavatore?
Yes, Alessio Cavatore. So basically the long and the short of it is that I'll just read what he says here. So 3rd edition will be out in late September. The core mechanics are staying the same, but they're going to be refining and updating some mechanics for smoother gameplay, while new players will be a welcome to a system that's easy to pick up and learn. I've heard that is kind of a focus, is to make it easier for new players.
Do you think they'll
off the get go?
Do you think they'll update the ambush mechanic and kind of cover and stuff like that? Because
I don't know. I mean, those mechanics always it never really seemed that hard. I think maybe one of the things that my complaint was going through it would be the rules weren't laid out terribly well, and we were always jumping around in the rule book to get from one sections that should have been together. So I wonder how much of it's going to be that of reorganizing and making that a little cleaner.
It's a valid point. Yeah, that's a valid point. There's
especially if they're not changing. If they're not changing the core mechanics, I can't imagine that there's too much rules wise that needs to be.
Yep.
Super.
I mean, the big change, according to him, is complete reworked army list selection system.
Mm-hmm.
So I imagine there's going to be more variety that you can do within those forces.
Well, and I don't know if it's maybe something where they're looking to figure out a balance way, because I know that as historical players, we don't typically play games like that as a tournament sort of thing. But I know that Bolt Action does have a pretty strong tournament presence. So I'm wondering if part of what they're doing is trying to revamp some of the army lists and building to make it a little more conducive to that sort of gameplay.
A little bit more maybe force balance.
That's just speculation on my part. But
Yeah, I mean, this is all speculation.
I could see that happening, and that's not a bad thing. I mean, I think there's going to be people that like that and don't like that, and teach their own. If you hate that, fine, go hate it, but leave the rest of the people alone that like it, because there's nothing wrong with that.
I mean, I can tell you, according to the press release, that still D6 game, pin markers, templates, all of that is staying the same. None of that is changing.
That's the core of bolt action.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And I'm
all of
assuming
that
the
order
dice mechanic
activation,
of pulling order dice.
order activation is the same. Nothing that's going to
Yeah.
be, none of that is going to be changing. Campaign books can be reused, but all of the army books are essentially going to be not usable.
Okay.
So
I'm looking forward to it. It's
So
gonna be fun.
I mean,
Yeah.
it'll rejuvenate. I think the community. I know that every time I go to Adepticon and I see guys playing, I'm like, God, I really want to do the team tournament sometime. But we always get pulled into like the campaign stuff, which is there, as everybody knows, there just isn't enough time to do all the fun things you want to do. I mean, that's just the way it is. But we have a decent amount of people around here that actually play bolt action. There's just nobody that's organizing them. So when Matt comes to town, I'm hoping that he will help me and we'll get together, and which is why I'm pushing to get because I don't really have any terrain that I can just call up guys and say, hey, let's go play. I'm really close now with the stuff that I got from Micro Art Studios, all their pre-printed stuff, pre-painted stuff, which
That's
is
the stuff
really
I've been
good.
building.
That's what he's been building. So we've got a few people on our Discord that want to play, and they're out there. They're just nobody really organizing it, and it's just another one of those games that I do enjoy. I just don't play enough of.
So piggybacking off Warlord news, did you see that they have released or coming out with Epic Scale Hail Caesar? So like 15.
I think I saw a
mil.
post on that on their Twitter or something.
Yeah, I think that got announced at Salute. So.
Oh, that's right, because Salute just happened.
Yes.
And Little Wars was this past weekend too.
Yeah, Little Wars was this weekend. Unfortunately, I was not able to get over there and even say hi to anybody or
nope, I'm out.
That's on my
It was
bucket
this
list.
weekend.
I
It was
gotta
this
go
weekend.
some year, but it
ended today.
It's so hard because it always falls so close to Adepticon, and then it's like, man,
I mean, there's no way we opened our show this weekend. There's no way I was going to make it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, not just that, but next weekend is KennedyCon.
KennedyCon, and
so but
Since,
someday,
well,
maybe
hey,
retire.
we're in the news part, so let's talk about KennedyCon.
Yeah. So KennedyCon is a fundraiser for my esports club. We play esports competitively. We have a state association league. So we have seasons in the fall, the winter, and the spring. We play 4 different titles. But I was trying to think of ways to fundraise. I didn't want to sell cookies. I didn't want to do pizzas. And my kids don't want to do that stuff because everybody knows esports types kids, they're pretty introverted. They're not really go-getters.
And to clarify, Moser, for people who might not know, these are high school kids, right?
Yes, these are all high school kids. So my program's doing really well. We're pretty successful. We won state in Overwatch this past winter. We're doing really well in Valorant this spring. But I was just scratching my brain on what to do for fundraisers, and then I got word of Bug Eater, which is a fundraiser, I think in Wisconsin. I'm not sure where.
Omaha.
Oh, it's Omaha. That's right. And they do a tabletop tournament as a fundraiser for their debate club. So I'm like, well, geez, I mean, I can do that. If I'm gonna fundraise, I'm at least gonna do something that I enjoy doing. So we have 3 games on Saturday. They're being played. We're playing 40K. We have MCP tournament, which is going to be an LVO qualifier. And then we have Star Wars Legion that day as well. And then Sunday will be, and then we have Infinity as well.
Hold on.
It's coming back. It's
You're
coming back to it. I was
one.
missing the important one. And then we have Infinity coming back to the state of Iowa, the Iowa incident. Mark.
6.
Is it 6?
6. 6? All right, Mark 6. Mark 6. So
the last one was in 2018.
Yeah. the meta might be gone in Iowa, but we're just gonna bring people here to play, and Scott over here is going to run that tournament for us.
Yeah,
we got some good
Infinity players now.
Yes, so so we've got 4 games going on. What's fun for you, Matt?
What's fun for me is that's one of the things I've been working on getting ready for, because I was one of the people that started it with Will when it was in this room that I'm sitting in right now. And there were 4 of us, and I have played in every single one of them. And when it came time for this one, I really went back and forth because I was going to just help out with the con. And then it was like, oh, I really need to play because I've been in every single one. So I'm excited I get to be in it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's basically it. There's 2 40K and Infinity will be a 2-day tournament like those games are normally. MCP looks like it's going to be a 1-day, 4 games based on the turnout we have. Legion will be 1 day, and then we're actually busting out Star Wars Unlimited for Sunday. So as far as I know, this will be the first big organized tournament for that game in this area. So don't have I don't know if anybody who watches this is big Unlimited players, but they sold really well, so there's not a lot of booster packs for like prize support, things like that. We will be giving out, hopefully, I can't remember what they're called, but the event exclusive promo packs. Cheap, $5 to get in, but yeah, so it's going to be a thing this weekend. We're doing what we love. A month out of Adepticon, and I'm super excited, and I'm super excited everybody in this room is going to be there, and we'll throw some dice and raise some money for my program and give out some cool prizes and have a good weekend of it.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and hopefully we're making you some decent little bit of money.
Okay.
Enough to buy his kids some loot boxes.
Enough to buy another computer. That's really what I need.
That's what they really wanted.
I need one more computer to make my life a little bit easier. But
okay, nice.
Yeah,
it'll be good, and hopefully we'll be able to kind of record there a little.
What's that, Scott?
Sorry, Scott.
Just say hopefully we can record while we're all together again and get a little bit more content back out there as well.
Yes, Matt. The plan is this is going to be an annual thing. It's not going to be a one-off. The plan is to make it bigger, start bringing in people from outside the state, especially for the incident like we used to back when we were running 60 deep. MCP, I'm hoping gets a little bit bigger. That's an LVO qualifier. I've got some feedback from some people on why out-of-staters didn't come. So I'll make adjustments for that. 40K is 40K. I mean, we've got like 44, 46 signed up, which is pretty standard for around here. So like that's the money driver. That really is.
Yeah.
But I got a great guy named Josh who is running it. No, none of us are, but the guy running it runs tournaments all the time. He's been awesome to work with. His name is Josh, and yeah, so it'll be a good time. We got a food truck coming on Saturday, and as we develop, then once I get a little bit of money in the account, then we'll start looking at doing expanding prize supports, painting competitions. You know, sky's the limit as far as I'm concerned because I got a big gymnasium to throw it in.
Awesome.
Cool.
Can't wait. I am definitely excited.
Yeah.
Well, should we get on?
Just another excuse to hang out.
There's news. There's female Space Marines. And moving on. So I know you mentioned Shogun. How are we all feeling about, like, anybody else feeling that, like, feudal Japan itch lately?
Yes, but I have nothing to apply it to.
Yeah.
I mean, we could always
I
try
do.
to find yet another game.
I said earlier,
I'm not playing Bushido.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not bringing that one out because I don't need another game.
That's like, that's
samurai,
China. But like,
that's like,
but like fantasy, like historical.
I kind of like to see Saga do a feudal Japanese book.
That could convince me to get into Saga.
Yeah, that'd be
Saga's
pretty cool.
Actually.
Speaking of TV shows,
I know there's a rule set out there that's I've seen it a few times on Facebook, but I don't remember what it was. And every time I see it, I'm like, oh, I need to remember that because I need to send it to and then I don't because I'm an idiot.
Speaking of TV shows that have corresponding board games, anybody watching Fallout yet?
I have
Anybody?
not yet.
I have not watched one episode of Fallout. Matt has a lot of time to kill, so he watches a lot of shows.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I think I'm 2 episodes away from the end, and
Ooh,
it,
you're
it
farther than I am.
in terms of a faithful representation of a video game to a show, it's probably one of the better ones out there that I've seen.
Yeah. That's
I've
I'm,
heard
I'm only a
that.
couple episodes in, and I would say that it's one of the better video game adaptions I've seen.
Yeah, I
And
talked to some of my kids who
I
are
only
big
ever
Fallout
played.
fans.
I think I played Fallout 3 from.
I've played
all
3
the way
and
through.
4.
I
I
haven't
don't
played
think I
any
did
of them.
4.
But
And it's interesting because I have seen a lot of talk online about it, and the video games have had a huge resurgence just from the
Yes.
show.
Mhm.
And Bethesda has no new games out. Like, it's kind of like, whoops. But that's what you were saying. And that's the other thing I've seen is when we were at Adepticon this year, in the swag bag came a box of Fallout miniatures. And I thought, oh, that's cool. You know, I like Fallout. I played it. It was a cool game. But I went with our friend Steven and did a demo of the game that they had there. It was Modifius, right?
Yeah,
Correct.
Modifius. Yep.
Yeah. And it was cool. I mean, I'm not going to say I didn't like it. It was cool. I'm not getting it currently because I have way too many other things going. But I would be willing to bet that with what I'm seeing online from people watching the show, translating into buying merchandise that is Fallout, just trying to get anything they can get their hands on, I think it's going to actually kind of blow up more than we are expecting or would have expected otherwise.
I wonder if like the show characters will actually make it into the game, or if they've already done that.
I think. Oh God, where did I see that? I want to say I saw somebody that did that, or that was coming.
So good cross marketing tie in there. So.
Yeah, and it's funny because it was not one of those planned things. I don't think. I think it's just that the show has been a huge success, and because of that, people are now going back and going, "Ooh, what can I want to be in that world," and they're getting video games out, and they're finding this miniatures game, which they have a board game and a miniatures game and a role playing game, and I think there's even like some other miniatures rule set with it that they all have going right now. And I can tell you that their 2-player starter. Unfortunately, Modifius had a Corvus Belli this year, where one more palette of their stuff did not make it to Adepticon.
Yep.
And that palette happened to be their entire palette of the 2-player box starters that they were going to sell at Adepticon. I talked to the guy about it. I got to see they had one that they had out on display. It's a really good deal. Like it is one of those starter boxes that if you are going to get into a game, you know, some starter boxes are better than others.
Yes, agreed.
This one had really decent terrain, like solid terrain in it, stuff like that, 3D terrain. It had good miniatures, all that kind of stuff. So if you're excited for Fallout, take a look at it. It might be right up your alley.
Well, there we go. We got some good consumer advice for our pokey gaming show here.
I'm not watching it until after I get done with Shogun.
Well, that's you got a week. We have a week.
I want to watch Shogun, but I don't tend to watch things to watch them.
Oh yeah,
and Shogun is all subtitles, so if you don't watch it, you don't know what's happening.
100%.
Unless you're fluent in Japanese, in which case listen to it all day long.
Not even that. They are speaking like period correct Japanese.
Yes.
So it is not even modern Japanese.
I have watched a couple of episodes, and every time I'm watching it, I'm like, man, I really want to dedicate the time to sit down and watch it because it is cool.
Yeah, you have to focus. There's no doubt.
It's really well done.
I made one show I'm watching right now. We haven't even really, it wasn't on our list, but X-Men 97 is just so everybody knows. It's freaking amazing. It's amazing.
Dived into that yet?
It's amazing.
As soon as Shogun's done, that's the one I'm rolling into because
at least I have Steven because I can talk to him about it. But
I will catch up very soon, so we can.
So good. It's so good.
All right. Well, with that, I think we should move on to the big news. of
There is big news. Was there big news?
big news, everyone.
I don't know how big I'd call it. I mean, it was news.
So my sister sent this to me first before we even sent it in a group, and I'm like, that can't be real, but it was real.
Yeah.
So
I saw
Scott,
it too, and didn't believe it until our friend Scott reiterated it, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
So Scott, what's happening?
what's happening?
Well, since we've talked quite a bit about Adepticon, not only on this recording, but the previous one where we actually, kind of walked through all the stuff that we got to see and experience at Adepticon in 2024 here, which was the 20th Adepticon. But I think we even talked about it in that last recap that Adepticon has kind of outgrown the fact that it's been sitting in Schaumburg since 2016, if I remember correctly.
It was a bit
It's
crowded.
Yeah, I mean, so for the last, I think, 3 years, because of the amount of space we've needed, we've split. We used to just be the Schaumburg Renaissance. Uh, for the last 3 years, we've split and had at the Schaumburg Renaissance as well as Schaumburg Hyatt. And this year, every single square inch of that place was used. We had, if I remember correctly, about 8,000
8,000, wasn't it?
attendees. There's no more room for us to expand. So that's always been kind of that question by the Adepticon, like, inner circle, the folks that really truly put, 365 effort into Adepticon, what makes it run, what makes it bigger and better, and how can we grow? Well, as they, have made those decisions and looked at all the options, the decision has been made to move it to the Baird Center in downtown Milwaukee. So after 20 years of being in Chicagoland, greater Chicagoland, Adepticon is moving out of state. The biggest reason for that is, like I said, space. We are completely out of space as far as running an event. Sorry, again, I'll reiterate. I use the term we. I volunteer my time there. I'm not, in any other way officially affiliated with Adepticon, but because I've been volunteering since 2009, the we is just in the vernacular. So apologies for that part.
The royal we.
The royal we. The Baird Center. Some of you might have heard of or known that Gen Con used to be up there.
I remember going there for Gen Con, surprisingly.
It's been, I think it moved to Indy in 2001, I believe. So it's been quite a few years since it's been there, but it's not the same. It's been completely revamped. It's been modernized. There's going to be, technology everywhere, Wi-Fi for everybody, which is good because as Infinity players, I know there's a lot of Infinity players that like to, to run the Army app on their phone, and mark off which ones are dead. So they have immediate order counts and things like that. So that'll be extremely helpful. It just the fact that there's going to be that much more room for expansion, just kind of as a few examples, larger hobby lounge, aka Fort Wapple. So it's going to be, we're going to be able to expand that. We can have even a dedicated award and presentation space, which will be pretty darn cool because as of right now, every other time I've seen it, it's been each individual game has their awards, in their smaller section. If there's a dedicated space, that's kind of cool. Where you can just all go up to it, and I don't even know what it's going to look like. Bits trading, that's something that we haven't done at, as attendees at Adepticon in many years because there's no room for it.
Yeah,
that can come back.
Remove, and you're able to bring historics and stuff back together.
That's
right?
To me, that's the biggest thing is the fact that we can put everybody back together. And I know, Jason, you were mentioning a few minutes ago, like wandering around and seeing the bolt action stuff makes you kind of want to play in that team tournament. I have not had a chance to see any of the historics at Adepticon since we did that split because I'm
that to me is the most important aspect. because it's cause like Matt and we would go over there for 2 days, which means I'm not at the vendor hall. I'm not seeing you guys. I'm not like just popping by and saying hello. And it's good for the games too. Because as we know, like Blood and Plunder used to be over there. Obviously, they pulled some strings or did whatever they had to do to get back in the main space. Because in the end, you're trying to sell your games.
Yeah,
and the majority of the population is in the main hall, and that's where the money.
Correct me if I'm
is.
wrong, Scott. That's the other thing is they're able to expand the vendor hall and make it a larger vendor hall as well.
Absolutely, yeah. So they can expand the vendor hall.
The biggest thing is the space is so much more space that I think it's really good for Adepticon.
I think you're going to see a lot more demos in booths as well.
Yeah,
because I know like the Death Ray Design guys, they have 3D prints, Battletech stuff. They have Steel Rift, which is another mech game, and I remember seeing in their Discord after this came out, and one of the guys was like, "Hey, we could actually have a demo table in our booth now, just because of the space increase and not have to be, on top of each other."
Exactly. Yeah. So it should hopefully allow for existing vendors to have more of a footprint, but also bring in more vendors. So
newer vendors,
and this is just guessing because I haven't had any of those actual conversations.
Yeah, I mean this is all hypothetical stuff.
Exactly.
This is a newly renovated space, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Newly renovated.
So like
and from what I understand, the whole area around it has had a real like kind of renaissance of redoing that whole area to make it a destination.
Yes.
Place.
Yep. Yeah. It's funny. I went to school in Milwaukee for a year, and this is like a stone's throw from where I went to school. So I'm like, oh yeah, all this, and I remember when the day got announced, when I looked, I'm like, hey, there's actually a fair amount of hotels around here that are all within walking distance.
Well,
and for people out there, I want to throw this out there because I've seen a lot of doom and gloom when this was online when this was posted. There's a lot of people that have been complaining, oh, I can't get a hotel room. Oh, I can't get a hotel room. Stop, take a breath, because we know if you were trying to book Adepticon in Chicago right now, you wouldn't be getting a hotel room because the way they do it is, specific. So there's probably going to be plenty of hotel rooms. They're not going to make a change like this without making sure of that. It's just you got to trust the process and wait until they do the releasing the hotel blocks and all that kind of stuff.
Yep. But, and so that was also one of the other big things is I actually did the numbers on it. If we look at Schaumburg, the Renaissance, and this is all based on Google searches, so I have to rely on, the results of that. Renaissance has 474 rooms. The Hyatt has 468 for a total of 942, attached to the two venues. The Baird Center has 3 attached, through a skywalk, or like a half a block walk. So like within that very, very close radius. 3 different hotels. There is a Hilton with 729, Hyatt Regency 481, and a Spring Hill Suites with 155 for a total of 1,365. So we're getting 423. Again, that's if each hotel is allowing us to hit the max.
That's just attached.
Yeah,
like there's other hotels in the area, and same thing. Like my wife and Jason's wife came to Adepticon this year. It was kind of my wife's first time coming to Adepticon. And when I told her about it, she was kind of bummed because it's sort of an us tradition with the guys and everything to go to Fat Rosie's Tacos in Schaumburg. But even she said that as cool as that was and as fun as that is, she's kind of excited because we're going to find new places.
Exactly.
That's the other thing that all these people that are doom and gloom, just it's relax. There's places to eat. There's things
and what
to
I'm
do.
going to say also is that me being an event manager background, which I've done for 10, 12 years, whenever I go to Adepticon, I'm always in the mode of, okay, how did they run power here? How many restrooms are there? Where are they putting food? Can you walk easily through here? those are always going in my event manager brain. So I can tell you, especially with a renovated space, there's going to be more restrooms. Parking is going to be probably a lot better situation because that was always
that was part of the press
craziness.
release.
Isn't there
That was
supposed
part
to
of the
be
press
a
release.
cat-
Was
And
they said
it's
that
the little
specifically.
things like, is there enough power to do everything you've got to do? Or logistically, there's a lot of stuff that goes into that from the event management standpoint. That just when you go to a new renovated space, things are just going to be easier on the event, and then the event can now focus more on the event rather than how to get to that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So I think the move is obviously it was overdue. Probably, it's time. Rip the Band-Aid off, and I think it's gonna be a great experience. There's always gonna be hiccups with a new venue. You're dealing with new management. You're dealing with new rules, new staff, logistics. You guys got a lot of stuff stored in Chicago. I'm assuming that's now got to get moved to Milwaukee.
Actually, most
I'm
of it
guessing.
is kept in Central Illinois.
Yeah, but it's
So
still got to get up there.
anyway.
So it's still got to get up there. So like that's a whole another
It's
logistical
one extra hour
thing.
north on the semi truck.
Let me just add. I'm sure that this is all part of the decision. I'm just curious. How much different do you think that you're going to run into issues with the difference because it's Wisconsin versus Illinois? Are there going to be like issues legally that people weren't thinking or haven't thought about? Not from the venue side. I'm sure they've all planned that. But like, are there things that you guys kind of can think of that as attendees we should probably make sure we just pay a little closer attention to with that?
Not that I know
Not
of.
that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Here's
I didn't
the
know
biggest
if, like, open container
benefit
like that.
of going to Milwaukee. We can now drop Malort and start drinking Spotted Cow.
No. We will bring the Malort anyway.
We can drink the holy nectar that is.
Somebody's got to do a Laverne and Shirley theme.
This last year, Malort, I think Malort got put on the map. So like it's now you can't back off of that.
No, but it's Wisconsin. We're gonna have some cheese curds. We're gonna drink some Spotted Cow.
Yep.
We're gonna.
I do like my Spotted Cow. There's no doubt about that.
We're gonna pick up that Manitowoc accent. Don't you know there?
Well, look at it this way. Like even talking about the BattleTech pods, they have more.
Yeah.
They only brought 4 because they didn't have enough room.
Actually, they brought more. They had a lot more with them. They said they had, I think, 4 or 5 more in their truck.
Yeah, so they had like 8.
But they did not have the space given to them to set up any more than 4. And they were hoping that next year, if they're invited to come back, which they're really hoping they are, that they can have more dedicated space and set up more pods. Which
Catalyst, don't fuck this up. We need to have Lance on Lance.
It was a lot of fun. It really was a lot of fun.
I had a great time. I kicked everybody's butt.
Yeah, I lost.
I may have had a bigger bet.
I don't care.
I may have had a bigger bet though, not on purpose, but it was pretty funny.
I'm just hoping next year I can get into one and still, not.
Well, let's look at it this way, Scott. If you get hurt in Milwaukee, you're really screwed because now you're not even at home.
That's a good point.
So whatever you got to do these fantasies of you getting back in the ring.
I'm not getting back in the wrestling ring.
Let's tone that down a little bit. That's another story for our viewers, but I'm just gonna leave that there. If you want to talk more about it, hit our Discord up, hit our Facebook group up, which will be posted in the comments. If you want to know what he's talking about, he'll show you.
It's
cool,
fair
but
to say we're all optimistic and positive about this.
I'm super stoked.
Departure.
I think it's
excited.
over. I am just excited to be in the same dang building. I was tired of driving to go to the historics.
Yep.
I also feel like I can do 2 different things. Like if I want to do historics in the morning and something else in the afternoon, now I can do that rather than try to go back and forth and worry about a place to park.
Yep.
Even though there was the shuttle,
and I know that they said in the press release they talked about how the parking situation is just much better. So that in itself is enough for me to go, yay.
Well, for me overall, I'm excited because as a tournament organizer at Adepticon, it feels like we're going to be able to expand our own potential footprint, depending on once we start having the conversations about layouts and things like that. But there's also the additional added piece of that with more space means that the overall Adepticon organizers can actually open up event submission again, which means we can start seeing even more different game systems offered and played
My
at
lord.
Adepticon. So yes,
Which is
even
crazy
more.
because that's the thing. That's the thing at Adepticon is there's so many games being played that you've never seen that it's like, that's cool.
So you're
I
saying
can't
we don't
imagine
have
even more
to
showing
now
up that.
Even more.
like beat up Malifaux players to take their tables because I was fully
No, we
prepared
don't
to
have
do
to.
that.
We
No.
can just wave at them and take more
You mean
space.
GW might be able
We
to
have
hold their
plenty.
seminar like in a room so you don't have to like reset the room?
Reset the room.
After
We can hope because that is a mad scramble as soon
We're
as
gonna
that's
have to
over.
still
to
take
set up
away the
half
AOS
the ballroom.
guys, speaker privileges. That's gotta.
That's so. I know we've talked about some like some of the postmortem, like what went well, what didn't go well in the Schomburg ballroom. That did feel like it was definitely overpowering because they were using the whole ballroom speaker system. I'm very interested to see what that's going to look like in the Baird Center.
Hopefully, a lot more customization.
And if any of those guys need to know what questions to ask, have them come talk to me.
Will do.
I know the right questions to ask. If you're not a venue person, you wouldn't know to ask it.
Oh, maybe I'm not planning enough Warcrow tables. Back to the drawing board.
Well, we'll find out as we get closer and we know exactly more what that footprint.
We gotta get that game out first.
Need to buy more trees.
Which July, correct?
That's
July
what pre-orders
July
are.
15th July 15th is when the pre-order opens. July 15th through August 3rd, I believe. So last day of Gen Con.
And that's basically the starter box, correct?
Yeah, wins
of
wins
the north.
from the
Winds of the
is
North.
it of or from? Well, yeah, Winds of the North.
Winds north there.
Yeah, Winds of the North is the 2-player starter. That's what it'll be also be available at Gen Con for anybody who's attending. You can pick that up along with the book, which will contain the rules and the fluff. The rules will be available free online through the website on PDF. And there is a limited edition miniature that is still just the silhouette with the question mark that we haven't
And
seen
I heard
yet.
through a certain Instagram post that the fluff is done. I believe I saw.
Probably
Miss Hoopu posted something that said the end.
The end. That was, I believe, the culmination of all of her hard work on the scenarios for Warcrow Adventure.
Oh, okay.
I believe that was the final scenario for Adventures, which is the co-op dungeon crawler. I believe that's finally wrapped up.
I'm getting, Scott's getting. I think we're the only two.
Yeah, but I don't know that we need to have I don't.
Oh,
it's one of those things that I don't think we need more than that number of copies within our.
We're gonna play that sucker.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We'll play it.
There may be some things of that I want to pick up just because I think they may translate into Warcrow.
I'm going to throw this out there now. We need to set up a time that we do, we find a charity event. I know board game, there's been board game ones in the past where people marathon play board games on YouTube but raise money for charity. If that happens again and we can find one, we should get together and we should marathon play Warcrow Adventures or something along those lines.
And
live stream it. It's that's part of the charity event of it, live streaming that.
I love it.
So yeah, actually I had that idea the other day with it was Twilight Imperium, and I was reading how that game could go on and on and on, and I'm like, that would be the perfect game to live stream at a charity 24-hour board game.
I know Steven would be all about that. He loves that game.
Why don't we take it one step farther and either do Axis and Allies or old school and just do Risk?
The problem with Axis and Allies was I used to play that a lot, and the problem was it took longer to set the game up.
I know.
Yeah.
It's such
than it did to play.
Supremacy.
It was a fun game, but
Supremacy with Nukes and Pirates. That's the one. That's the
Yeah,
one.
we can
right
always go
there.
back to the old days of Tractics. We're playing 12 hours in the
Hey,
gymnasium.
speaking of, there
I
is,
know I brought that up.
I got to bring this up because this is crazy to me. There is a local group here in Iowa, down in Iowa City, that has been playing that game, which was a Gary Gygax.
I didn't know it was a Gary
1970s.
Gygax game.
Yeah.
I had
yeah.
no
It was
idea.
originally written by him. Well, he was one of the people that worked on it. Came from the 1970s. That is the game that Jason and I used to play in
That's what got our start.
early 90s through
Did you
late
guys play in
90s.
like 156 or something like that?
We played in
172nd.
172nd scale.
172nd,
so 20
right?
mil.
20 mil, yeah.
And in 20 mil, like it was crazy because you had tanks like the extreme range on a Tiger, for instance, is 180 inches. That's 14 feet. So if you're playing that game, you have to have some space to really play it. But there is a group of guys in Iowa City that posted the other day that they were playing this game. And I asked them about it because I was like, oh my God, that cannot be the same game. And it really is. It made me go down to my basement and dig out all of my stuff that my dad had done for that game, all of the player aids, all of the like just everything I found. And it was really nostalgic for me. So I want to just shout out to those guys to say thank you. That really meant something to me. They are playing it regularly, so I'm going to try to get down there sometime.
Yeah,
and-
we got to go down.
Are
and-
they
and if
playing in
anything,
one?
bring them some of those player aids because they were things that we created.
Well, we've
after
got
playing
digital
for
ones now
years.
too.
Yeah,
playing in
that
20 mil?
were just really helpful.
Yeah,
They're
'cause
playing it
I
in
don't know.
15. They're playing it
they're
with their
playing
Flames of
15
World
mil?
stuff.
That's fine.
Mhm.
That works.
Yeah.
But it was.
Sounds
It
I
was
mean,
like
I
really
think
a
the math
possible
doesn't really
future
matter.
KennedyCon event.
a future what? I'm sorry, Adepticon.
KennedyCon.
It could be.
Oh,
KennedyCon,
KennedyCon. It could be.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, yeah.
I mean,
Um,
if you
one of the
play it like
crazy
it's
things-
designed, like literally, we would play for 8. There was one weekend
Yeah.
where we played for 8 to 10 hours on one day, stopped, and came back and played
the
another
next
6
day.
hours.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's
It's
The
very
crazy thing
slow
was that-
game. It's
yeah,
a very
well,
slow game.
it can be and it can go
8
faster
hours
if
of
you
real
know what you're doing.
time.
Now we played on
simulated 2
tabletops
hours
too.
of game time.
I want to say that we didn't ever play it the truest form of it.
No, I'd see. I'm
it
not
was
even sure
originally
we would know what
designed-
to do. We made
Well, it was
so many
originally designed
modifications
with
to those
the-
rules.
It was originally designed with a judge, so like a DM, and we kind of merged it with some rules. I believe they were Battalions in Crisis was the other rule set, so that we could play it without a judge. We sort of had our own, we were our own judges and just
See, I'm
honor
learning
system
all
for
this right
everything.
now.
But the guys down in Iowa City are playing it with the judge, and they're playing it almost like an RPG.
Oh my god, we wouldn't even
kinda
know how to
it
play
was written.
this.
So
I
Yeah.
had no idea. Like I've played that game since 1994, and I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
yeah, they had the scenario they played was a tiger that was on a hill, and there were 5 Shermans that were trying to take out the tiger. And so there's a lot of things that when you play the game the way it's meant to be played with the judge and everything, there's a lot of things like hidden numbers and that kind of stuff that the players don't know until it happens.
Okay.
So
That makes so much sense now. How that game gets played. That makes so much sense. Because we
Yeah.
would argue. Literally, Matt and his brother would have 30-minute
yeah.
arguments
Oh,
over the
God.
freaking rules.
Yeah.
Well, would this tank get penetrated in that angle because it had a vision port in its upper clashes? And I don't think
Yeah.
like literally 30-minute arguments.
oh yeah.
That's why our games
I
took
read
8
a whole
hours.
I read a whole article about it, and it was kind of interesting because the article talked about how the original idea of war games with a judge was created, I think, in Prussia or something like that, way back in the 1800s, if not earlier. And that sort of way of playing those war games was sort of standard up until a certain point. And then at a certain point, for some reason, they started doing more like a chess sort of thing where there was no judge. There were just the rules and teams played whatever. And then that became a standard and the games with a judge went away. and that there's sort of a resurgence that Gary Gygax wanted to do when he created this rule set of bringing back that concept of a neutral judge whose job it was to create the fog of war sort of part of warfare. So
Never knew.
But
Yeah.
yeah, that would be fun.
Well, with
Yep. Anyway,
that fun history
sorry about that
lesson
tangent.
concluded, shall we transition into some final thoughts? Anybody got
Yeah,
anything else they'd
absolutely.
want to bring up? Anything that they are excited to get to in the next couple of weeks?
I'm
besides
excited to
Kennedy
hobby.
Con?
Kennedy Con's next weekend. I've got some things that's going to go out tomorrow, but my after school theatrical duties other than esports are done, so I'm back to the table, back to painting and gaming out to my little heart's desires, and then we're going to invite some friends this weekend and throw some dice and play some more tabletop games because we love to do it.
I'm really getting excited about my house. The closing date got pushed from the 23rd up to the 7th.
Oh, hey. Awesome.
So it's happening sooner. The final move is still going to happen later in the month. But excuse me, I'm bringing more of my own hobby stuff over to the house once we get the closing done, to hopefully set up. I'm really excited because I have a very nice dedicated space that I get to set up as a gaming space that we can
make.
Well, Jason and I were talking about the potential of making it a recording space as well, so that we can get games on camera for our viewers, and we can do. The sky's the limit, really. It'll be a nice enough space that we can really try to do.
Actually, money's the limit.
Yeah, well, but you know what I mean. Like, if somebody comes up with, oh, I want to play this game on camera, all right, let's bring it in and put it on.
I've been watching some other YouTubers though. I've got some inspiration going.
Yeah,
Good.
I'm very excited for that, to get that going, because I know that it's going to be a lot of fun for everybody involved, the viewers, us, anybody that joins in. It should be a good time. So, yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to that.
All right. Well, with that, gentlemen, I think we're going to end this mead hall. Finish your drinks. Everybody, thank you very much for joining us tonight. It has always been our pleasure to sit and chat with y'all. We will see you at Kennedy Con. And until the next one, enjoy yourselves.
Good night.
Good night.